what I thought I would do now is to give you guys a different option for those of you who want to help people who are panhandling or flying a sign, whichever term you like to use, but you don't feel comfortable giving money. I like to have this variety of items in my van. And also, I will start with this stuff over here. I go to the Goodwill and I'll get sleeping bags. And fortunately, I have never had a problem getting sleeping bags. I like to get 2 or 3 at a time. And I'm typically paying about $4 or $5 per sleeping bag. And I also like to have with me a variety of backpacks because they are very needed for individuals who are living on the street. And so here's different sizes for different options. And again, get those at Goodwill, probably another, $4 or so. And blankets are always good. You can get those for just a couple bucks. And the clothing items, I like to have both men and women's clothes, all different sizes, and I only get them off of the clearance rack, which you're probably paying about $1 an item. So, you really have to be mindful because this stuff does add up, so you gotta kind of keep a budget. So there's typically 2 scenarios that you're gonna run into. One is the person who's panhandling, flying their sign at a stoplight. So you get to the stoplight, it's red, you've only got a couple seconds to hand something off. I like to have a few of these bags just with 3 or 4 items in it. You just reach down, you grab the bag out the window, and there you go. You're not holding up traffic, it's not a danger to anybody. And then the other scenario is I have a backpack, and I have a lot of these items that I always carry in the pack. There's still some in here from last weekend. So say you're at a park or in the parking lot of Walmart, a grocery store, and you see someone who looks like they could use a little help. I give them the option to come over and they can go through the bag that's by the van. And I have never had anyone really rummage through and take. Every single person who has ever looked through the book bag has been nothing but courteous. And I have to tell you a funny story. I now keep the gift cards attached to the receipt and the paper that it came on, because I had one gentleman, he saw there was a gift card in the bag, and he said, "Oh, I think you probably dropped this out of your purse. I don't think you meant to have that in there." And I said, "I absolutely did." So, and I said, "There's only $5 on it, but they are one of the first items to go out of the bag." People get real excited to see that. And another important thing is diabetic socks. If you can just imagine, these guys are walking for hours a day, miles and miles and miles. And I have had so many people tell me that their feet just burn and it feels like pins and needles, the neuropathy. So I like to get the diabetic socks. To go along with that, also the body pains that they experience from sleeping on the ground, being in the cold, in the wet. And not that this is going to solve anything, but I hope that it helps a little bit. And the antibiotic cream, case of cuts, things like that. Another thing that people like to get is the lip balm, chapstick for both winter and summer. When people are living in the camps, they like the clothesline to hang up their sleeping bags to dry out. If it's been raining, their clothes, that's always a good thing. And also in the camps, a lot of the camps that I've been in have been very organized, very clean. But a few of them that I've been in have been a hot mess. And so I like to take garbage bags with me if I'm going into the camps. and I encourage those that are staying there to pick up and, you know, put some of those beer cans or trash or whatever is hanging around in the garbage bags. And I tell them, you know, maybe the cops won't be harassing you so much if you keep this area a little cleaner. And it does work because I've gone back and the garbage bags are filled. So that made me happy. Some feminine products, and a lot of people don't think to put items in your bag for women, but unfortunately women are the highest rate of increase when it comes to homelessness, and that is due to domestic abuse and divorce, unfortunately. So don't forget your ladies out there. And the hair ties, the flossing sticks. I have several of these bags, and I put like a half a dozen to a dozen of them in there, and people can just grab those. The fanny wipes, I keep several of these bags in my backpack for obvious reasons. And I have the large size toothbrush and toothpaste. Typically I have the travel size, which works a whole lot better because people are very limited in the space that they have to carry things. So I'm definitely going to have to restock the trial size or the travel size toothbrush and toothpaste. And this is very helpful for those who are living in the woods. The bug spray. And the emery board surprised me because I really thought that only the women would take them, but just as many men are grabbing these emery boards as the women. Again, travel size, the shampoo, conditioner, body wash. Whenever you go into a hotel, you know, scoop them up. I have a giant bag of the travel size from hotels, and maybe you can collect some from friends or neighbors so that you can always keep those because those go pretty darn quick. The 6-pack of water I get from the dollar store. So 6 for $1, you can't beat that. And I give each individual the whole 6-pack. Don't keep the plastic bottles of water in your car in the heat because it's just not good for anyone to have that plastic sitting in the heat. I also have male and female ball caps. Those are very popular items. I always carry the giant marker, you know, so they can be creative and make their signs. But I don't give these out. I just make sure that I always have one on hand for anyone who needs it. And I know there's a lot of people who don't agree with flying the signs, and we will talk about that later. I also like to have games and things to work your mind. Like, say with some award finds, and make sure that you have a pen to go with it if you're handing that out. Decks of cards, very popular. And here I have the chess set, and keep it in a bag to protect it from the elements. And the adult coloring books, make sure you have crayons to go with those. I hear a lot of people telling me that they are just bored because of all the time that is idle in their life at this point. And unfortunately, I know probably many of you are out there thinking, well, they wouldn't be bored if they were out looking for a job. I've learned so many things from doing this project. And one of the biggest things I've learned is that homelessness does not discriminate. It can happen to anybody. It can happen to you. It can happen to me. It can happen to your mother, your father, your child, your neighbor, your coworker. And I talked a little bit about the fact that women are one of the biggest growing populations of homelessness. The second is suburban youth, and that is due to the opioid epidemic. So I'm going to list some groups of people, and you tell me, do you think that a person is a victim or that they have caused their addiction to drugs the painkillers? What about an 80-year-old woman who had hip surgery and now she's addicted to her painkillers? Or what about that star football player that injured his knee during a game and now he's addicted to painkillers? What about that 30-year-old who was in a motor vehicle accident, hurt his back, and he is a general contractor? He can't afford to stay home. He's got to work. And he is addicted to his painkillers. Are those people victims, or did they cause their addiction? Personally, I feel they're all victims because of society's abuse to prescription medications. You're injured, you go to your doctor gives you a prescription for a painkiller. Let's see, some of those prescriptions could be fentanyl, oxycodone, morphine, hydrocodone, Vicodin, Norco, Percocet, or Demerol. And that's just naming a few of them. So you take all of your medication as prescribed, but you run out and you're still in pain. So you go back to your doctor and you ask for a refill. Chances are good you're going to get that refill. And if you continue to take that, depending on your personality, depending on your chemistry, your makeup, you could easily become addicted. You can become addicted to that after just a few days. So you got that refill, that's gone. You go back to your doctor, ask for more. This time the doctor does not give you any more. So you absolutely need it at this point to function. You're still working, you're still going to school, but it's becoming a struggle. You're starting to change your dynamics of your relationships in your life because you're needing this painkiller every day. Now you're running out, you don't have any. You're getting nervous. So now you're looking in the medicine cabinets of your friends or family members. When that's no longer an option, then you resort to going out on the street and buying those pills. Those pills out on the street are going to cost you $20 a pop. Now, your relationships are really changing. You're getting new friends. The people out on the street who are supplying these painkillers to you. And that one pill that used to help is no longer helping. Now you're up to 5, 6, or more. And it's costing $20 a pop. You don't have that kind of money. But you know you still have to take it in order to keep working. Because the pain, you can't deal with it. So maybe one of these new friends tells you, you know what? I've got a different something that will help you, and it's going to cost only a fraction of the price. And you're really hesitant because you have never been that person to use street drugs. Never. But you're in the panic mode, so you're like, well, you know, you say no the first time, and then unfortunately it's getting to the point where you can't afford $20 a pop anymore, so all right. And you kind of tell yourself, well, if I don't shoot up the heroin, then I won't be a junkie like those people on the streets. So now you're using heroin. All your relationships have been broken. if you're not homeless already, you're probably couch surfing. And eventually, unfortunately, thousands of those individuals are now shooting up. And they've lost all sense of themselves. They don't care if they live or die. They're out on the streets. Those are the people that you're seeing, panhandling, to get money for those drugs, or the alcohol, food, something to drink, just to survive, because their families have probably given up on them because they've stolen everything they can get their hands on to get money for this drug. So don't think it can't happen to you. It can happen to anybody. And the people that you see out on the streets, they have probably made a good many bad decisions. It does not mean that they're bad people.